Another common stretch that people just get caught up in is an overly extended hip flexor stretch. So really targeting the superficial and deep hip flexors. But there's some popular gurus out there that really want you to get way back into hip extension, further from your active range of motion. And what this ends up looking like is getting into a half kneeling position and really extending out to the point where we're having some pretty gnarly issues at the spine and at the pelvis. So you can see here, I'm super hyperextended at the lumbar spine. And what happens is the joints just kind of hit up against one another. If you're doing that every single day, especially if you're sitting 8, 10, 12 hours a day, thinking that you're doing yourself a favor by stretching your hip flexors out, this can actually exacerbate some symptoms. So commonly, I see people come in doing this stretch, and we need to remediate them down by teaching them the proper way to do a half kneeling hip flexor stretch. So I'm going to go through the progression and how to set this thing up, and then how we use dynamic oscillations in this as well. So I'm using a pad here just so I don't kill my knees on the turf, but we're going to have a base setup position where everything's going to be hip width apart here. So my toes are directly forward. I'm at a 90-degree position here, 90-degree position here. I am straight up and down at my femur, straight through the torso. In this position, I want to be cueing 3 different tension points. First one is going to be the glutes having tension, so squeezing the butt, especially on the backside here. What that's going to do is actually stabilize and position the pelvis in neutral, or a zone of neutral. Next thing is we're going to have a co-contraction coming from the pecs and the lats at the upper extremities and the shoulders. What that's going to do is position the pillar from the bottom and from the top, just so we can have some better tension coming through the core. So this is going to be our centralized position. Just to add a little bit of oscillation to this movement, just to work in and out of a terminal end range, I like getting the hands up, right on the knees, tension, 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 hands come here, and we're going to rock back and forth about an inch or 2. We don't want too much translation forward, because then we lose the tension that's on the tissues that we're trying to target. So sit here for about 30 seconds or so, and you can follow this up by a static hold of about 10 to 20 seconds just to finish off this stretching parameter.